Yes, I am drinking red wine because this is French Day at Noir City. I just have this sudden craving. Every time I watch that movie, I start craving like a baguette and some brie and some red wine in the middle of the film. I know Tony's fate, and it's like I just want to toast him, you know. It's like, he got that kid home, you know. So, what is you've seen them now, Asphalt Jungle and Rififi. What's your preference?
My preference, well, I guess it just depends on the day, really. I mean,
if you're in that American state of mind, bring me some bourbon.
Less and less, yeah.
Well, I have made the decision that I actually, it is Rififi by a nose for me. But it is the nose of that little boy that makes the difference, you know? Because that kid is so great. And I'm the noir guy. Normally I hate kids. But that kid is so fantastic, and it was such a genius idea to put him in the script and have him be this counterbalance to all these hardened criminals. You know, that kid's incredible innocence is just so beautiful, and you know, to speak seriously for a moment, I mean, this is 1955, right, when they made this film, and that final sequence in the movie, Tony's last drive, to me is like, this is a Hollywood filmmaker. This is a guy who learned his trade in Hollywood, you know, making B pictures at MGM and then working at 20th Century Fox before he was rudely shown the door by the United States government. And, you know, then he went to France, and you look at that sequence, and it is like absolutely the fulcrum between classic Hollywood filmmaking and what's going to happen with the French New Wave. I mean, he is doing everything in that last drive. It is so brilliant, and it's remarkable filmmaking, and that's why I kind of give the nod to Rififi.
I might have to say the Asphalt Jungle. Looking back on it, I'm thinking of that scene with Marilyn and her uncle, and you know, she's such a good kid. You know, she's such a good kid. I know.
Okay, we are going to once again give away some prizes here, and today the prize is a set of Belgian postcards. They're Belgian film posters that come from my personal collection. I am an incredible collector of movie ephemera, and these are all noir films, American noir films that were released in Belgium, and this 24-card set. So we have a couple of those, and once again, I think Greer is going to just decide who gets these. So beg. We love to see you beg.
Somebody do a wolf whistle.
Yeah, well, that'll attract Greer's attention. And I'm sorry to say that this is going to be Greer's last appearance on stage here in Noir City. She's heading back home today. But thank you so much.
A wonderful audience. It's such a pleasure to sit with you all and watch these films, and you know, it's just been wonderful. Thank you very much.
She keeps remarking when people come up and talk to us, she says, the people here are so nice. Man, what's wrong with them? This is Noir City, you know, you people are so nice. Anyway, before we do this, I want just to tease the movie you're about to see. I've been talking about how some of these movies are actually written by actual criminals. This is Jose Giovanni, the screenwriter of this film, a.k.a. Joseph Damiani. Some of you probably heard me give you the rap on this guy the other night when we showed the Sicilian Clan, which he also wrote. But this guy, when he was a kid, was really a criminal. He fell in with some bad people, like the comment that Joe's wife makes about, you know, people are born, you know, of you end up being the bad kid, you know. That was sort of Joseph Damiani. He was with a gang, his brother was in it, and some other guys who in post-war, he was a Corsican, and in the post-war era, this gang kind of preyed on people who were victims of the war, or war profiteers, depending on whose history of Mr. Damiani you are to believe. And he was involved in a robbery and murder when he was a teenager, and in which his brother was killed, and he was arrested and went on trial and was found as an accomplice to the murder of this man, and ended up spending almost 11 years on death row. And you know, in France, that's the guillotine that awaits you at the end. And amazingly, in that time, he became an avid reader, read a lot of crime fiction to see, you know, how are people out there making a living off this stuff that I actually did. Maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and he finally had his sentence commuted through the efforts of his father, who he was estranged from, and it wasn't until much later in his life that he found out that it was his father who was really responsible for getting him released from prison. And he ended up writing a very profound memoir about his relationship with his father, and became, once he was a free man, he became the preeminent cinematic crime writer in France, and worked with a lot of tremendous French filmmakers, all of whom have an opinion about whether, you know, Jose Giovanni, the name that he ended up taking, was guilty of these things that he was accused of or not. And as I heard from my friend Bertrand Tavernier, the filmmaker who knew him very well, he said, you know, I don't know what's true or what's not true, except that I knew him, I worked with him, and I loved him. And he was a great guy, and whatever he did, I felt like he paid, and was actually able to turn his life around and make something of himself. So I tell that long story because that seems to fit with the theme of this year's festival. You know, all these guys are in one way or another looking for some kind of redemption, and there is, fortunately, a way out for some of these people, you know. If you stick around late tonight, you know, when we show Straight Time, there'll be another film written by a man who did hard time in prison and wrote his way out of it. So I think that's just something very much worth mentioning. Okay, I've used up way too much time. The only other thing I'm going to say about the movie you're going to see, which has just been sort of rediscovered in recent years as a tremendous crime film. It stars Lino Ventura, who you saw last night if you were here, as the Sicilian Clan, who was just tremendous. Didn't quite translate across the Atlantic the way Jean-Paul Belmondo did, who is the co-star of this film. This is one of the first films he made in France after his breakout in Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless. That's Lino Ventura is the actor who the French loved him, even though he was not French. He's Italian, but spoke fluent French and became one of the biggest movie stars on the continent. But this movie is directed by Claude Sautet, who would never go on to make another crime film. But it's interesting that his career was all about friendships amongst normal people. You know, I mean, that's what he did. He was like a very bourgeois filmmaker, if I can say that, and not particularly well loved by the avant-garde or the nouvelle vague. But this movie, interestingly enough, although it's a crime film, is really a movie about friendship. So it fits completely in Claude Sautet's filmography. Okay, and it's a terrific movie. So I hope you enjoy it. And now, we're going to give these guys away, and we're going to bid farewell to the fabulous Greer Sinclair. And we're going to hope that you will enjoy Classe Tous Risques.
Okay, let's do this. Go. Give these people